Hey, welcome back to the Sanders Kitchen. I'm Mike, and today we're going to be making some crawfish bisque. Let me show you what's in this recipe. You know, the first thing we have naturally is crawfish, right? But when you have a crawfish boil or you just go buy them boiled, you need to come home and peel them. But when you peel them, you need to save some of the big heads because that's what you're going to stuff. So we already picked a few of the biggest heads and cleaned them, and now we just have to pick the stuff off. I'm going to show you how it's done, okay? But I'm going to pick these crawfish. I'm going to pick all of the meat out of the head, everything, get the fat out. I'm going to show you a little bit about that too because it's important. Because what you want to wind up with is a whole bunch of crawfish tails with the fat from the head, all right? Now, what else we have in this recipe? It's a two-part recipe where we actually are going to make the stuffing for the heads and then we're going to make some bisque. So in each of those two segments, we're going to have onions, bell pepper, celery, parsley, garlic. And we're also going to be using some of this stock right here. Now, where'd the stock come from? Well, if you buy crawfish, you save the heads and you boil them. And you don't have to boil them for a long time, but you're going to get some stock out of those heads. Because remember, in the crawfish boil, you had all kind of seasonings in the boil, and some of that is still left in the head, and so we just boiled all that and we made a nice crawfish stock. If you don't have that, use a seafood stock, okay? If you don't have that, I would say use some chicken stock. That would be my next level, but we do have the crawfish stock. Anyway, to start this recipe, we're going to start by making the stuffing for the heads, and I'm going to chop up some veggies, and we're going to chop up some crawfish and put it in this food processor. I'm going to show you every step of the way, and then we'll stuff the heads and we'll get that ready. The second step is when we're going to chop up all the veggies, the onions, bell pepper, celery, parsley, garlic. We're going to add some more crawfish tails with the fat. That's where these come in, right here. And we're going to create a really nice bisque. We're going to make a roux. Use the stock. It's going to be wonderful. So I'll show you every step of the way, and at the very end we get to eat it. Man, I can't wait. So let's get on with the picking. So the first thing we're going to do, clean this show up a little bit. I'm going to chop everything up, and I'm going to pick the crawfish. Okay, the first thing I need to do is go ahead and pick all the crawfish. So this is real easy. What we're going to do is just pop the head off, and you stick your finger in there, and whatever comes out, you could even squeeze it a little bit. And you know what? I just ruined a really good head. But anyway, so I'm going to pull the first shell off like this. And then give it a little squeeze, and that's my first one. Let me show you back to back. Nice head. We'll keep that on the side. Give that a little squeeze, nothing came out. Pull one shell off, pull the tail out like that, and we'll just keep on going like that until we get them all done, and we'll weigh them out. You're probably going to have about 12, 13 ounces, and that's really all I need. I'm making a small batch. So when I get this through, we'll show you the next step. You know, I'm just sitting here thinking about all my friends who are at home watching our videos, and they make crawfish bisque. Now, they may not make it every week, you know, but they are making it, and everybody that makes crawfish bisque says, oh, I have the best recipe. Oh, I am not going to say that. I'm not going to stand here and tell you that my recipe is the best. I will tell you this, it's pretty good. And if you follow the recipe that I give you, and everything that I do will be in the description, as it always is, you'll make some good crawfish bisque. But, you know, I have some friends out there that are good people, and I love them. So all of those friends of mine who are out there, and family too, that are making a crawfish bisque at home, you know, hey, I'll take any tips or hints that you have, and I know that you guys are out there making some really good crawfish bisque, you know. So anyway, I'm going to continue picking these things and saving all the fat that I can, because that's part of the flavor. And I'm almost done. I'll be through in a minute or two, and then we'll go on with chopping up some veggies and making the rest of this happen. So I'm finally finished. Yay! I peeled all of those crawfish. They're right here. It's all the tails and the fat and a little bit of the liquid that I squeezed out of their little bodies. But guess what you have to do next? You gotta take the head off. You know, I mean, so it's kind of crazy. You gotta stick your finger in there and watch this. So I don't know if you could see that, but you gotta stick your finger in there and you gotta pull all that stuff out. And then right here where their little eyes and their little feelers are, now you could just grab a hold of it, give it a little twist, it comes out, and that's about it. Now that little point right there, you'll probably want to break that off too, because I don't think you want that in your mouth. But see that little body, we're going to clean that out a little bit, and we're going to stuff that with the stuffing we're fixing to make. It's going to be delicious. I can't wait to finish this recipe. It's going to be good. So now I'm going to go ahead and pull all of the rest of the heads off and clean them so that we can get ready to make the stuffing. So again, I'll see you guys in a few minutes, okay? Oh my goodness. Whew. You know why they call this a labor of love? Crawfish bisque is a labor of love, because you have got to love someone a lot to go through making crawfish bisque. Boiling crawfish, picking the heads, picking the meat out, you know, cleaning the heads, cutting up all this, all the seasonings. It's a lot, but guess what? It's worth it. So right now, we're almost ready to start making our roux. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put 1 pound and 3-4 ounces, something like that, of the crawfish tails in my food processor. By the way, this is our new Cuisinart. This is the commercial model. It doesn't go anywhere, it doesn't move. I mean, this bad boy is awesome. So all I wanted to do was pulse it up a little bit. I don't want to make mush out of it, and that's it. That's what I wanted to do right there. I'm going to take this ground up crawfish and put it back in my little measuring cup here, and then we'll get started putting everything together. Okay, we're back on, and we're getting ready to make the actual bisque. So the first thing we're going to do is going to grab some good olive oil. I love good olive oil. And we'll put about 1/3 of a cup in. Remember, everything I do will be in the description. What are we doing? We're making a roux. So while that oil is heating up, I'm going to add in about 3 tablespoons. Hey, these are a little bit bigger than a regular tablespoon. I'm not worried about being too exact. And now we're just going to make a roux. And we want that roux to get a little dark. So watch this. Watch the transition. Now when that oil gets hot, the flour is going to melt very easily into that oil. It smells real good. But you know, I went to the fridge to get some butter, because butter has a flavor, can't beat it. I'm putting that in, and I'll add enough flour to make my roux. This is how you make a roux. You don't worry about, oh, it's got to be exactly equal parts and all that. Yeah, I mean, that'll get you in the ballpark. But when you're making a roux, you got to go by what it looks like. But I did start off with 1/3 cup of oil, and now I have 3 tablespoons of butter. That's all I really want. And I'm going to add enough flour until I get the consistency of the roux that I'm looking for. You can use a roux spoon or you can use a whisk. Either way, doesn't matter. Now it's got a really good consistency, and what I'm going to do is just continue stirring it until it turns brown. I want it to be a peanut butter color. That's where I want it. Now, if you take a look, you'll notice that the olive oil, yes, it was really green, but now it's time to turn the fire down a little bit, and you'll see how the flour and the oil are having a party. They're having a toast me party. And now, how do you get this to cool down without burning? Well, it's really simple. You put in your onion first. Now, if you want it to stop cooking, stir that onion in. That onion's cold, okay? And then go in with your bell pepper next. And your celery, and stir it in. Now, this Dutch oven is holding a lot of heat, so it's not going to cool down that fast. So you have to keep stirring. Now, I also have some green onion. So I put 4 whole green onions in, and tops and bottoms. Now, that is a flavor you don't want to miss out on. And some parsley. Okay, so you'll see how it's all stuck together, and so we've just made a roux, and we just stopped that roux from getting any darker than what it was, and I turned the fire off. So at this point, what we're going to do is get our stock in here, get it ready. So we know we need some red sauce, and I have a lot here and I don't want all of this. So we're going to use 15 ounces. This is a 3-ounce ladle, so we're going to go ahead and go in with 5 of these. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's all we want to use right there. Okay, put that out of the way. Oh, I do need this. Okay, so let me go ahead and stir this up a little bit. Now I'm going to turn the fire back on. So be in control of your heat. That's important. Be in control of your heat. If you got to turn it off, turn it off. Don't burn the roux, okay? Real important. So now we have the red sauce mixed in with the brown roux, and all the veggies are all nice and soft. And so we're going to go in with this crawfish stock. Man, this is beautiful. Now this is a quart, maybe a little bit more than a quart. Okay, went in with the whole quart. And now we're just going to stir it. I'm going to stir it up until it's all incorporated. Hey, this might mean a minute or two, but just be patient. Stir it up. Make sure it's all incorporated together. Take your time. Don't be in a rush. Now, I'm going to also add in my garlic. I could have added it in before, but I waited because everything was really hot. I didn't want it to overheat the garlic. So the garlic is in now, and that's going to cook just fine. And okay, so I think what I'm gonna do, get ready to clean up my mess here. I'm using some Emeril's essence. I love Emeril's essence in a bisque or an étouffée. So a couple of tablespoons of essence. And we'll stir this up. Now, this is something really important. I want you to know this is my technique. I pulse this crawfish because, I'll tell you why. If you put the crawfish in whole, you better have a lot of crawfish, because whenever people go in to get their own crawfish bisque, they always seem to search that bottom for the crawfish, and the last one gets no crawfish. So I pulse it a little bit because I want the bisque to be more of a soup consistency with a great flavor, and that's what I'm looking for. So what we're going to do now is we're going to turn this down to a simmer once it comes to a boil, and we're going to taste it for salt and pepper. And once I simmer it for about 30 minutes, then, see, the crawfish are already cooked. Then I'm going to add the crawfish and stir it in, and that will go on the stove, and then we'll start making the stuffing for the crawfish, okay? I'm going to get some of my caliente, and I'm just going to put in about maybe a half a tablespoon. Now this is, our caliente is made with Tabasco peppers. It's not super hot, but it has a great flavor. So I'm looking for flavor. And I don't want to oversalt it either, so. Ooh, that's good. Okay, so at this point, I'm turning the fire off. I'm going to transfer the bisque over to the stove, and we're going to start making the stuffing for the crawfish. So we'll see in a little bit. Ooh, man, the crawfish bisque has been simmering for about a half hour now, and ooh, it smells so good. So the next thing to do is take that crawfish and transfer it in a little at a time, and we'll just stir it up and incorporate all of that crawfish into that bisque. Oh, this is going to be so good. You know, anybody that's made crawfish bisque before, they know what the flavors are going to be like. This is so good. Okay, the last of it going in. That was about 1 pound and 3-4 ounces, somewhere around there. Look at that, how beautiful. Oh, and believe me, there's no breadcrumb in this at all. So I had a little bit of my stock left over. I'm just going to go ahead and put that in. And now we're just going to let this simmer for another 15 to 20 minutes while we're preparing to stuff the heads. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna go put this on the stove and be right back. Okay, on to step 2, stuffing the heads. So we're gonna take the crawfish that we originally peeled, and we're gonna pulse this up a little bit. Okay, here we go, pulse. Okay, that's looking good. Now we're going to take the crawfish out of here, put it in our measuring cup, and then I'm going to go in with my veggies. Be back in a minute. I love this Cuisinart food processor, the commercial version. It is awesome. It's got a lot of power and so many attachments. It's so versatile. I really love it. They don't sponsor me, but I'm just giving them a thumbs up because I love this machine. So now I'm going to put this back on. Let me get that to go on with our onion. Now, you know, this time when you chop up your veggies, you don't need to chop it up fine. You just need to give it like a little coarse chop. So that's the onions. Green onion, I have some bell pepper. This is only about 1/4 of a bell pepper. Some celery. Now that is 1 small rib. And maybe about 3 or 4 toes of garlic. Gotta have that garlic flavor, right? And some parsley. So I love parsley and one of my favorite things. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that on, and we'll pulse that around a little bit. Because I want this to be a nice consistency for making the stuffing. So we'll just give it another pulse. This machine is so awesome, y'all. Okay, I'm done with that. Doesn't take long, and it's so quiet and so strong, so powerful, it's amazing. So I'm gonna clean up the mess a little bit, and we'll get ready to go right into the skillet. Okay, here we go. Fire's on. We're gonna get that skillet nice and hot. I'm gonna take a couple of tablespoons. Let me cut that up a little bit. Cut that up. A couple of tablespoons of butter. Or if you're from New Orleans, you could say butter. Doesn't matter. Not matter, but matter. Everything has an A on it, okay? All right, we're gonna take a little olive oil. Not too much, just a couple of tablespoons, or maybe a tablespoon. We get that nice and hot. Now, if you're wondering why I didn't really add any salt and pepper to the crawfish bisque, it's because we use crawfish stock made from the heads. Now, in that crawfish boil, there was a lot of salt and a lot of seasoning, and that stock had a lot of flavor to it. So I can always add salt and pepper at the end, but I didn't want to overdo it. So here we go. The butter's melted, and the oil and the butter have incorporated together, and it's kind of looking like a little brown bubbles there. So now I'm going to go in with all of my blended up seasoning, and we'll saute that. Let me make sure I get it all out of there. Okay, let me turn that fire down a little bit now. Okay. Alrighty. Look at that, man. Pretty, huh? Okay, so just like any other time that you're sauteing, you want to make sure that you saute this until everything is nice and soft. And so just give it about 3 or 4 minutes, okay? Now, in the meantime, what I'm going to do is sprinkle on. How about if I measure it for you, okay? Now this is Paul Prud'homme's shrimp seasoning, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to actually get that measuring half a tablespoon in there, but that was pretty close. That was pretty close. I'll put a half a tablespoon of shrimp in there and finish it off with a few sprinkles, because it really wasn't a full half tablespoon. Now, I'm going to blend this well. It's important to cook it a little bit because, you know, you've got all those veggies, those flavors are all going to marry together, but just because they were blended doesn't mean they're cooked right now. So we do need to cook those down just for a few minutes. Let's hit it with a little white wine. That's working out fine. Okay, it's looking good. I'm going to add in my crawfish. We're going to blend that in together. And we're making a stuffing. We're not making a sauce. So it's going to get thick. That's what we want. Okay, now a little bit of half and half. Not even a quarter cup. Now, be like a mad scientist over here. Let me throw in about a half a tablespoon of Emeril's essence. That has a little salt and pepper in it too, not much. A little bit more, half and half. Boy, that looks wonderful. Now, look how pretty that looks. Okay, we're going to simmer that. We're just going to simmer that a little bit. So we're going in with a whole tablespoon. In other words, 2/2 whole tablespoon, because I want it to have a nice little kick. Now we have to stir all that in really good. Okay, a little bit more, half and half. Now why am I adding half and half? Because I really want it to be a stuffing, right? Well, that's because I'm going to add in some Italian breadcrumbs. And I want it to have something to bind itself to. So here we go. Okay. So how much breadcrumb do you add? Well, you just sprinkle a little bit on top. Okay. I'm probably at about a half a cup. Okay, guys. Now, this is the grand finale right here. We turn the fire off. I'm gonna go in with a little bit more breadcrumbs. Sure tastes good. So what I'm looking for is like a little bit of a pasty look. Okay, I want it to be able to get a little sticky. And that's about it right there. Okay, so now we're at a point where we're going to let the stuffing cool down. We don't want to burn our fingers trying to stuff those little heads. So it'll cool down, and then in the meantime, I'll clean up everything and we'll get on with the stuffing. It's almost time to eat. All right, the stuffing is cooled down. The bisque is on the stove and it's ready. So all we have to do now is stuff the heads. And so what you do is you get your little regular spoon. Hey, look, I don't really care how you get the stuffing in there, but I usually just take a spoon and stick it in there like that. Look, watch this. You could even use your finger. Hey, if you're eating it, you can do it any way you want, okay? And once you get it stuffed, then you just roll them in a little flour like that and set them off to the side. And when you get them all done, then you can put them on a pan and bake them in the oven. Most people down in South Louisiana won't stuff 15 or 20 heads. If they're going to go through all of this trouble, they're going to stuff about 200. And they'll invite their friends and family over, and they'll feast on this stuff, and they'll moan and groan, and it'll be a wonderful day, I can tell you. So I'm going to go ahead and do as much as I possibly can. And I'm going to run out of heads, or I'm going to run out of stuffing, one of the two. But then we'll go ahead and show you what the next step is, because all we have to do now is bake them in the oven, and then we'll serve it up. So we'll see you guys in a little while. All right, 25 heads we stuffed, 25. And what we're going to do is give them a little spray here with some oil in hopes that they'll brown up nicely. All right, the oven is at 350. We're going to set these in the oven just like they are right now. I'm going to roll them around a little bit. And we're gonna put them in there for 20 minutes. And then it's gonna be time to rock and roll, baby. Let's go put them in the oven. Ooh, my chef. These crawfish are out the oven? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm starting to talk Cajun. So what I want to do is show you the crawfish heads, the stuffed heads came out of the oven. We put them in 350 degrees for 20 minutes. And we're just going to transfer them out of the pan into the pot. And they're already cooked. Everything is cooked. So all we need to do is just keep it warm and serve it up. So the rice is done. And we're going to make a nice plate. And of course, you know, this is my most favorite time of the whole recipe. I get to eat it. So I'm going to push a few of those down like that. Now you can't see them anymore, but they're in there. And it's smoking hot. So let's get some rice and we'll plate it up. Ooh, let me serve this up right here. Put some bisque in here like this. Oh man, does that look good? Okay, now we take that little baby off there. Well, let me put this big old giant bowl of crawfish bisque in front of me. And now I'm going to decorate it with some green onion out of my garden. Now we're going to go for the taste test. Oh man, this is so good. Mom. Oh, this is delicious. What's really, really good about it is every mouthful, you get a little bit of that crawfish and that spice is just right. Never even put a lick of salt in it. But watch this. Look at that big old crawfish head right there. And the stuffing's in there. So this is what you got to do. You have to put it in your mouth and get all the gravy off of it. And then, however you can get the stuffing out is totally up to you. Now, if you want to stick your finger in there, I would recommend that you do that. And not your tongue, because you might cut your tongue. Or you get your little spoon and you can pull it out like that. And then you come and dip it in your crawfish bisque. I spilled it. But that is beautiful. And that's how you eat crawfish bisque. You really gotta work on getting all the flavor off of the head. And the bisque is so good. Oh my God, it's amazing. So I hope you guys enjoy the recipe. We're gonna post it. Everything will be in the description. Please give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't. We love you guys. We really, really do appreciate each and every one of you. We appreciate all the soldiers who fight for our country. We love our country. And we are Christian people. And we just thank you guys so much for being our subscribers. So get this recipe, make some crawfish bisque, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the notification bell. That way you'll know when we come out with new videos. As I always say, God bless you, each and every one of you. And until our next video, we'll see you.